In the next few videos, I'll show you a range of different play learning activities that you can do with children. Ideally, I've put them in toy categories, so I've started with pom-poms, Lego blocks, pipe cleaners. Enjoy the different ranges of activities and also enjoy listening to what I see from a developmental perspective as I'm watching the children playing. There's a little section at the start of every activity that gives you the title of the activity. Feel free to scroll back and forth then whenever you need inspiration for play activities. Any questions, just let me know. So in this first video, I'm going to share with you the children playing with pipe cleaners and toilet rolls. So what I've done is I set it up firstly by hole punching holes into the toilet rolls. If you're not allowed to use toilet rolls in your service, that's okay. Try paper towel rolls or just plain cardboard, it doesn't matter. It's just being at home in play-based learning, I know that I'm able to use toilet rolls. All I'm requiring Phoebe to do is just to lace the pipe cleaners into the holes of the toilet rolls. Traditionally, we could then progress this from a more advanced skill into getting older children to pipe clean the toilet rolls and make a structure out of toilet rolls. It really depends on where the child is at with their fine motor development and their creativity skills. Phoebe is needing a little bit more of engagement between me and her. She's disengaging quite quickly with this activity because she doesn't yet have the pincer grip and the fine motor coordination to feed the pipe cleaners into the paper toilet rolls. But all we could try and do is just keep going with what she's trying to do. So what she's trying to do at the moment is trying to hole punch it herself. Of course, this might be too challenging for her with her fine motor development, but again, it's just letting the child lead the play as best we can. And then once she can see that it may be a little bit too challenging, we don't want to cause any complete disengagement from the activity, so I try and support her hand where best I can and then try and distract her back to doing the original pipe cleaner activity. We could talk to the children about using different colours, we could talk to the children about making those structures and working them through being able to make those structures, but what I love here in particular is Phoebe using her bilateral coordination and keeping her resilience up by trying one strategy after the other. What you can still see in this activity is she does a lot of the fine motor work within her centre, in her midline. I'm trying to challenge her by reaching her towards the toilet paper roll that's a little bit further away from her to encourage her to get out of her midline and further develop those skills. In this next pipe cleaner video, we'll be using pipe cleaners, beads, just different coloured beads, and I've made tiny little pieces of paper like with the number on it, sort of like a flag if you can imagine. So I'm writing the numbers onto the tiny strip of paper. I'll fold the paper in half and then you'll see how I sticky tape it onto the pipe cleaner soon. Isla wanted to colour coordinate her beads, that's fine. So I actually encouraged Isla to set most of this activity up herself. Now she's obviously a lot older than some of the children in your service, so you may need to incorporate this for them. If you have older children at home, you can do this where they might set up the learning materials and then they'll encourage their younger sibling to do these activities, which I love about this activity. So we're putting the flags on top of each pipe cleaner just with sticky tape, and it just allows the children to associate the number of beads on that pipe cleaner with the written number. Again, it's great for early numeracy. The fine motor activities involved in this is we have to use bilateral coordination, we have to stabilize the pipe cleaner with one hand and feed the beads on with the other hand. We also need to, colour identification comes in, so Isla wanted the colours of the beads to match the colours of the pipe cleaners. So you can see us having a bit of a conversation where we're talking about how many beads are on each pipe cleaner, what colours each pipe cleaner are. You can further progress this by giving the older children maths equations. So for example, you might have the flag on the pipe cleaner be the number 5, but then you want to add 2 blue beads and 3 red beads. How many would that equal? What I love about pipe cleaners is they're very easy to access, so most of us would have them in our service or in our home, and it's just a great activity. The next activity, I involve pipe cleaners and a colander, so just your normal pasta colander. There's no real goal to this activity other than just let them creatively play with the pipe cleaners and they might want to make a monster, they might want to make a sea creature, they might just enjoy the threading action of the activity. What I like here is that two children can work, or even three realistically can work at this activity together. It encourages negotiation skills, turn taking, sharing. What I also like about this activity is that it's so open-ended. There's no structure to it other than providing children with the colander and the pipe cleaners to select from. Of course, we can add longer pipe cleaners to make more elaborate designs, but I started quite short with the pipe cleaners so that Phoebe had more success with her fine motor skills. If we set it at an achievable level where Phoebe particularly can achieve the activity, we're going to have more engagement with her in the activity. I was trying to obviously challenge her a little bit more by encouraging her to go in different ways with her play. Encourage that as well. The more children can work together as a team, it's fantastic for their teamwork and also being able to develop their social skills. The next activity, I've given Hugh a little bit of a challenge. So what he's created in the first stage is a number 8 made out of a pipe cleaner, and then a hook he's made out of a pipe cleaner. The figure 8, little small 8, goes inside the cup, and then he has to use the hook just with one hand to pick the number 8 out of the cup. We would start this by encouraging children to do it with their dominant hand so they achieve success, and then you can try your non-dominant hand later. He's pretty excited and impressed with himself. I love this activity in that you can do it standing on one foot, you can do it kneeling. Pipe cleaner shapes. So with pipe cleaner shapes, all I did was I got out a few small pieces of card and I put different shapes on it. You can encourage the children to draw their own shapes, or you can set it up beforehand. I provide each child with the shapes, and then I give them the pipe cleaners to develop those shapes. The more the children fold the pipe cleaners in half, making them smaller, the more fine motor practice they're going to get. What I love about this activity again is that we can all involve it together. We can talk about the shapes, we can talk about how many sides the shape has, we can talk about the colours of the pipe cleaners. It's a really great activity for small groups. We then expand that by adding into the pipe cleaner letters. So all I'm doing now is giving them letters. You could start by giving them letters that they know, letters that they know the sounds of. While they're making the letters out of pipe cleaners, we can talk about their starting sounds. We can talk about who has the name of that letter, starting with that letter. You can see here that Hugh started by making a really big H. I want to develop his fine motor skills more and advance from that. So I then prompt him to fold it more into smaller sections to get more exposure to the activity. Some children like Hugh who struggle with their fine motor or aren't really engaged in the activity will want to rush and finish it quickly. So all we do is we try and extend the activity and make them maintain their engagement in the activity a little bit more. We can then go into pipe cleaner numbers. So we've done shapes, we've done letters, and now we can do numbers. I gave the task to Isla for her to create the numbers. So the more we involve children in the activity, the better. They can then become little teachers for other people. The same principles apply. We want to just make the number shapes out of using the pipe cleaners. We can talk about what numbers are how old we are. We can use numbers to say how old our family is. We can use numbers to count how many pipe cleaners we've used. There's so many other extensions that you can provide for this. Again, what we're wanting to encourage Hugh and Isla to do is involve the twisting action, making the numbers a little bit more complicated than the original letters that they created. Here we have an activity for the older children. So the activity is we just give each child 2 hooks each. So they're little mini pipe cleaners made with a tiny little hook on it. I then give them an elastic band and we connect the 4 hooks together. So each child is holding 2 little hooks and they're working as a team to take the cups from one pile onto the other. So what they have to do is use bilateral coordination to create the tension in the elastic band so that they can make it over the top of the cup. They then have to communicate with each other to get it onto the other cup and release at the right time. So it's really working on communication skills, teamwork, problem solving. Of course, you can see I do assist in this activity a little bit. We will assist at the start once they're learning this skill. They've never done this activity before, but then the goal would be once they became more competent with the activity, we would actually step away and let them develop the activity themselves. What we enjoy about this activity is that it encourages them to use proprioception, so that feeling of pressure, which is really great for developing fine motor skills. We also develop the ability to keep the wrists extended and straight, because if we bend our wrists, we can't get the tension in this task. Isla really enjoyed this next activity. It's about pipe cleaner weaving. So all we do is we just weave the pipe cleaner in and out of a cooling rack. You can make it complicated by going in and out of every single square. what I've encouraged Isla to do is just free play. Do whatever design she would like. Isla preferred to copy my strips at the top, so she wanted to keep going with the strips, but you might not have any goal at all. They might just want to put the pipe cleaners in and out of the cooling tray like they did the colander. Whenever I set up an activity like this, I always set up an example at the start so children know roughly what they are achieving. So here you can see I've just done 2 strips at the top. I've provided Isla with the resources, and away she goes. Phoebe loved this activity the most. So this was involving pipe cleaners inside, with little worms inside the cup. So I just pre-trimmed tiny little strips of pipe cleaner. I put them inside the cup, and we have magnetic wands. The magnetic wands ideally will attract the metal inside the pipe cleaner, and she'll be able to see the amazing science of magnets. You can see that she struggles a little bit at the start because we're just going too fast. From learning from this activity, we may have also put too many pipe cleaners in at once, but you can start to see she's starting to realize that when she moves the magnetic wand over the cup, she gets them to move, which is pretty amazing. It might be too challenging for you, so you can see she disengages a little bit from the task. So she goes into what she wanted to do, which was just put the magnet wand straight inside that cup and bring the worms out, and she loved the exploration of that. If children disengage, it's not a big worry. It just means that they're not ready for that activity at that point in time. Let them continue with what they're comfortable playing with. She's still enjoying the idea of the magnetic wand picking up the pipe cleaners. She's still getting the fine motor control of doing 2 different actions with her hands. She's enjoying the action of bringing them in and out of the cup. So while the activity may have gone on a change of course, she still is developing her fine motor skills and her exploration with the pipe cleaners. So it's still a great achievement for her. What we did after we had the cup, we just removed the cup and we just allowed Phoebe and Isla to explore just picking up the worms with their magnet wands. So they loved it. They would just pick up the worms, put them back down, collect as many worms as they could. We spoke about the worms would be in the garden. We spoke about the worms wriggling around. We expanded on the worms as a language piece, not just doing the activity without using our language as well. We could then see that Isla developed the next program, so she wanted to put them back on the table. Isla then wanted to pick up specific colours at a time, so this re-engaged Phoebe into the activity of just picking up the pink ones and then just picking up the orange ones. So again, we set up an activity with an intention for them to develop playing with the magnetic wand, with the metal inside the pipe cleaners, but then you can see how children can extend it beyond that to counting pipe cleaners or sorting them into colours. This next activity is for those children that really love fine motor play and have the ability to bead, but also to focus on a task for quite a long period of time. So if you have any children in your service who love beading, then you may like to make this flower that Isla's going to make. So what Isla wanted to do was to make a flower with petals. She wanted to make each pipe cleaner petal have the same coloured beads. So you can see here she's making the first yellow petal, and she wanted all of the beads on the yellow petal to be yellow. Then she wanted to go on to the next colour. So then what we do is we just provide children with the resources and then let them develop what they would like to develop. If down the track she wanted something more challenging, we might want to add patterns into the petals. So for example, we have a petal and we'd like to add yellow, pink, yellow, pink. We can progress the activity, but the idea also with lots of these fine motor activities is just providing children with basic resources. You can see that my table isn't overcrowded with lots of things happening, so they're not distracted by the environment around them and they're just focusing on the activity that they've decided to do. You can see that eventually I come back into the activity. What she was finding it challenging to get all of the petals onto the green stem pipe cleaner. So what we do when we call it aid then fade. I will assist her where I can, but then come out of the situation so she can develop those skills. So the main goal is we want to be around to support them in their learning and their development, but not take over the activity as best we can.